They say that dogs don't live long enough. But what they don't tell you is that sometimes, in their brief time with us, they teach us more about life, love, and letting go than we could ever learn in a lifetime. This is the story of Cooper, a golden retriever puppy with eyes like honey and a heart bigger than the world itself. But more than that, this is a story about Emma, a 12-year-old girl who thought she had lost everything, until a small ball of fur showed her that even in our darkest moments, love finds a way. If you love heartwarming stories about amazing dogs and the unbreakable bonds between pets and their humans, you're in the right place. Subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell so you never miss a story about extraordinary puppies who change lives, rescue their humans, and prove that dogs truly are man's best friend. This story will show you just how far a puppy's love can go. Now, let's continue. It was October 14th when Emma's world shattered into a million pieces. The phone call came at 3:47 in the afternoon. Her father's voice on the other end, broken and hollow, speaking words that didn't make sense. Words like accident and didn't make it, and I'm so sorry, sweetheart. Her mother, gone, just like that. One moment, Sarah Mitchell had been driving home from her shift at the hospital, probably thinking about what to make for dinner, probably humming along to the radio. The next moment, a truck driver had fallen asleep at the wheel, crossed the median, and changed everything forever. Emma remembered dropping the phone. She remembered the sound it made hitting the hardwood floor. She remembered her grandmother's arms wrapping around her, but she couldn't remember crying. The tears wouldn't come. It was like her body had forgotten how. The funeral was a blur of black dresses and sad faces and people saying things like, "She's in a better place," and "Time heals all wounds." But Emma knew better. Time doesn't heal anything. It just teaches you how to live with a hole in your heart that never quite closes. In the weeks that followed, Emma stopped being herself. The girl who used to laugh at her dad's terrible jokes, who spent hours drawing in her sketchbook, who couldn't wait to get home from school to tell her mom about her day, that girl disappeared. She moved through life like a ghost. She'd sit at the dinner table, pushing food around her plate, while her father pretended not to notice she wasn't eating. She'd go to school and stare out the window during class, her mind 1,000 miles away. At night, she'd lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, waiting for morning to come so she could start another day of pretending to be okay. Her father, David, was drowning in his own grief, but he saw his daughter slipping away. He tried everything. He suggested therapy. Emma refused. He tried taking her to her favorite restaurant. She barely touched her food. He even bought her a new sketchbook, hoping to reignite the passion she once had for art. It sat unopened on her desk. Then came December 3rd, 2 months after the accident. David had been making phone calls all week, driving to shelters and breeders, searching for something, anything, that might bring a spark back to his daughter's eyes. He knew Sarah would have known what to do. She always did. But Sarah wasn't here anymore, and David was doing his best with a broken heart and a desperate hope. That morning, he woke Emma up earlier than usual. "Come on, sweetie," he said gently, sitting on the edge of her bed. "We're going somewhere." Emma didn't ask where. She didn't really care. She got dressed in the same jeans and hoodie she'd been wearing all week and climbed into the car. They drove in silence for 20 minutes, through the quiet streets of their small town, past the park where Emma used to play, past the library where her mother used to take her every Saturday. Emma stared out the window, watching the world pass by like a movie she wasn't interested in watching. Finally, David pulled into a gravel driveway. A sign read, "Happy Tales Rescue Shelter." "Dad, what are we doing here?" Emma asked, speaking for the first time that morning. David turned to her, and for the first time in weeks, Emma saw something in his eyes besides sadness. She saw hope. "Just trust me, okay?" They walked into the shelter, and immediately Emma's senses were overwhelmed. The sound of barking, the smell of kibble and cleaning supplies, the chaos of wagging tails and eager faces pressed against kennel doors. A woman named Margaret, who ran the shelter, greeted them warmly. She had kind eyes that crinkled at the corners when she smiled. "You must be David," she said, shaking his hand. "And this must be Emma." Emma managed a small nod. "I think we might have exactly what you're looking for," Margaret said. "Follow me." She led them past rows of kennels, each one holding a dog hoping for a forever home. Big dogs, small dogs, old dogs with graying muzzles, young dogs bouncing with energy. Emma felt their eyes on her, felt their hope, and it made her chest ache. Finally, Margaret stopped at a kennel in the corner. Inside was a puppy that couldn't have been more than 8 weeks old. A golden retriever with fur the color of sunshine and eyes that seemed to look right into Emma's soul. The moment the puppy saw Emma, his entire body started wiggling with excitement. He pressed his tiny nose against the kennel door and let out the smallest, sweetest whimper Emma had ever heard. "This is Cooper," Margaret said softly. "He came to us 3 weeks ago. Someone found him abandoned in a cardboard box behind a grocery store. He was cold, hungry, and scared. But look at him now." Cooper was jumping up and down, his tail wagging so hard his whole body shook. He wasn't barking or whining. He was just staring at Emma with those honey-colored eyes, as if he'd been waiting for her his whole life. "Can I?" Emma started, her voice barely above a whisper. "Can I hold him?" It was the first time in 2 months she'd asked for anything. Margaret opened the kennel door, and Cooper immediately tumbled out, all paws and ears in pure, unbridled joy. She scooped him up and placed him gently in Emma's arms. And that's when something inside Emma broke open. The puppy was so small, so warm, so alive. He nuzzled into her neck, his tiny heart beating against her chest, and he made a sound. Not quite a bark, not quite a whimper. That sounded like he was saying, "I've been waiting for you." Emma's breath caught. Her eyes burned. And for the first time since that terrible phone call, the tears came. They came in waves, crashing over her like a storm she couldn't control. 2 months of grief, of anger, of confusion, of loss. All of it poured out while she held this tiny creature in her arms. Cooper didn't squirm. He didn't try to get away. He just stayed there, pressed against her heart, as if he understood, as if he knew exactly what she needed. David watched his daughter cry, and his own tears fell silently, because he knew these weren't tears of sadness. These were tears of release. These were the tears Emma needed to cry but hadn't been able to. When Emma finally looked up, her eyes red and puffy, she looked at her father and whispered, "Can we take him home?" David smiled through his tears. "He's already yours, sweetheart." The car ride home was different than the ride there. Emma sat in the back seat with Cooper curled up in her lap, sleeping peacefully. She stroked his soft fur, feeling the gentle rise and fall of his breathing, and for the first time in months, she didn't feel so alone. That night, Emma did something she hadn't done since before the accident. She picked up her sketchbook, and she drew. She drew Cooper's sleeping face, the way his paws twitched when he dreamed, the tiny pink tongue that poked out when he yawned. David stood in her doorway, watching his daughter come back to life, and he whispered a silent thank you to Sarah, because somehow, he knew she had a hand in this. The next few weeks were magical. Cooper became Emma's shadow. He followed her everywhere, to the kitchen for breakfast, to the living room for homework, to her bedroom at night, where he'd curl up at the foot of her bed and guard her sleep. But more than that, Cooper needed Emma, and that's what made the difference. He needed to be fed every few hours. He needed to be taken outside for bathroom breaks. He needed to be played with, trained, loved, and cared for. And in taking care of Cooper, Emma found a reason to get out of bed in the morning. She found a reason to smile. She'd take him for walks around the neighborhood, and neighbors would stop to pet him and comment on how cute he was. Emma would find herself talking to them, telling stories about the funny things Cooper had done that day. She was engaging with the world again. She started eating better because Cooper needed a schedule, and she'd eat breakfast while he ate his puppy food. She started sleeping better because his presence was comforting, a warm reminder that she wasn't alone in the dark. But it wasn't just Emma who was healing. Cooper was healing too. When he first came home, he was skittish. Loud noises scared him. He'd hide under the couch when someone knocked on the door. He had nightmares and would wake up whimpering. But Emma was patient with him. She'd sit with him when he was scared, whisper soothing words, let him know he was safe. And slowly, Cooper began to trust, to believe that this was his forever home, that he was loved. They were healing each other, these two broken souls. And in their healing, they were becoming something more than just a girl and her dog. They were becoming family. Christmas came, and it was the first one without Sarah. Emma had been dreading it for weeks. The thought of opening presents without her mom there, of eating Christmas dinner at a table with an empty chair, it was almost too much to bear. But Cooper made it bearable. Emma woke up Christmas morning to find Cooper had somehow climbed onto her bed during the night and was sleeping with his head on her pillow, his paw draped over her arm. She laughed. actually laughed and kissed his fuzzy head. "Merry Christmas, Coop," she whispered. They went downstairs together, and Emma was surprised to find that her dad had gotten Cooper presents. A new collar, some squeaky toys, a cozy bed of his own, though Emma knew he'd never use it, preferring to sleep with her instead. As they sat by the Christmas tree, Cooper playing with a stuffed reindeer toy and Emma watching him with a smile on her face, David pulled out his phone and took a picture. Later, looking at it, he saw something he hadn't seen in months, his daughter's smile reaching her eyes. That evening, as the sun was setting and casting a warm glow through the windows, Emma did something unexpected. She walked to the mantel where they'd placed a framed photo of Sarah, and she talked to her mom. "Hi, Mom," she said softly, Cooper sitting beside her, looking up at the photo as if he could see her too. "I miss you so much. Every single day, I miss you. But I want you to know that I'm okay. Or at least, I'm getting there. Dad got me Cooper, and Mom, he's amazing. I think you would have loved him. I think you would have loved how he makes me laugh, even on the hard days." Her voice cracked, but she kept going. "I'm sorry I've been so sad. I know you wouldn't want that for me. And I'm trying, Mom. I'm really trying to keep living, to keep finding joy, because I know that's what you'd want. Cooper helps me do that. He helps me remember what it feels like to love something so much it hurts, and to have that love be worth the hurt." Cooper leaned against her leg, as if he understood every word. That night, Emma felt something shift inside her chest. The hole that her mother's death had left was still there. It would always be there. But it didn't consume her anymore. She was learning to live with it, to carry it without letting it crush her. January brought snow, and with it, new adventures. Emma would bundle up in her winter coat, snap on Cooper's leash, and they'd explore the winter wonderland together. Cooper, experiencing snow for the first time, was absolutely mesmerized. He'd bite at the snowflakes, roll in the drifts, and bark at his own paw prints. Emma found herself laughing more and more. Real laughs, from deep in her belly. The kind of laughs her mother used to love hearing. She started going back to school with more enthusiasm. She'd tell her friends about Cooper's latest antics, how he'd stolen her sock that morning, how he'd learned to sit on command, how he'd gotten scared of his own reflection in the glass door. Her teachers noticed the change too. Emma was participating in class again, turning in homework, even joining the art club, something she'd loved before her mother died but had abandoned after. She drew constantly now, mostly Cooper, but also other things. She drew her mother's smile from memory. She drew the sunset she and Cooper had watched together. She drew her father laughing at Cooper's attempt to catch his tail. Art had become her way of processing everything she felt, and Cooper had given her the strength to pick up her pencil again. But Cooper wasn't just helping Emma. He'd brought life back to their entire household. David found himself smiling again, laughing at Cooper's puppy antics. He'd come home from work, and Cooper would greet him at the door like he was the most important person in the world. And in those moments, David felt a little less alone in his grief. The house that had been so quiet, so heavy with sadness, was filled with sound again. The click of Cooper's claws on the hardwood, his excited barks when someone came home, the jingle of his collar as he trotted around. It was the sound of life, and it was exactly what they needed. By February, Cooper was growing fast. He was all gangly legs and oversized paws, constantly tripping over himself in his excitement. Emma loved every clumsy, wonderful thing about him. She'd started a ritual. Every night before bed, she'd sit with Cooper and tell him about her day. She'd talk about her classes, her friends, the art project she was working on. And she'd talk about her mom. "I wish you could have met her, Coop," Emma would say, scratching behind his ears in the way he loved. "She would have loved you so much. She always wanted to get a dog, you know. But we were always so busy." And she'd say maybe next year. But next year never came. Cooper would rest his head on her lap, his eyes half closed in contentment, listening to every word. "I used to be so angry," Emma continued. "Angry at the truck driver. Angry at the universe. Angry at Mom for leaving me. But Cooper, you've taught me something. You've taught me that love doesn't end just because someone's gone. I still love my mom just as much as I did when she was here. And that love, it's not painful anymore. It's beautiful." These talks became Emma's therapy. And Cooper, with his infinite patience and unconditional love, was the perfect listener. But life, as Emma was learning, is never simple. And just when you think you've found your footing, the ground can shift beneath you again. It was a Tuesday in March when Emma came home from school to find her father in the kitchen, looking more serious than she'd seen him in months. "Emma, honey, we need to talk," David said. Those words. Emma hated those words. Nothing good ever came after "we need to talk." Cooper sensed the tension and pressed against Emma's legs, offering his silent support. "What's wrong?" Emma asked, her heart already starting to race. David sat down and gestured for Emma to join him. "You know how I've been looking for work closer to home, so I can be around more?" Emma nodded. Her father had been working long hours since the accident, taking extra shifts to cover the bills and keep his mind busy. "Well, I got an offer. A really good offer. Better pay, better hours, and it would mean I could be home for dinner every night. Be there when you get home from school." Emma felt a flicker of hope. "That's great, Dad. So what's the problem?" David's expression grew pained. "The job is 3 hours away. We'd have to move." The words hit Emma like a physical blow. Move? Leave the house she grew up in? Leave the town where every street corner held a memory of her mother? "No," Emma said immediately, standing up. "No, we can't move. This is our home. This is where Mom is. Sweetie, Mom isn't in this house. She's in our hearts. She's with us wherever we go. You don't understand." Emma's voice was rising, and Cooper whined anxiously. "Everything here reminds me of her. The kitchen where she taught me to bake cookies. The park where we used to have picnics. If we leave, it's like we're leaving her behind." David reached for his daughter's hand. "We're not leaving her behind. We could never leave her behind. But Emma, we have to keep living. We have to move forward. Your mom would want that for us." Emma pulled her hand away, tears streaming down her face. "How do you know what she'd want? She's not here to tell us." She ran upstairs, Cooper scrambling after her, and slammed her bedroom door. Emma threw herself on her bed, sobbing into her pillow. Cooper jumped up beside her, licking her face, trying to comfort her in the only way he knew how. "I can't leave, Cooper," she cried, wrapping her arms around the puppy. "I can't leave all the places that make me feel close to her." But as she lay there, Cooper warm and solid against her, Emma's mind began to wander. She thought about the past few months, about how she'd been so lost in her grief that she'd almost forgotten how to live, about how Cooper had pulled her back from that dark edge. And she realized something. She wasn't close to her mother because of this house or this town. She was close to her mother because of the love they shared, because of the memories she carried in her heart. And those memories, that love, she could take those anywhere. The house was just walls and floors. The town was just streets and buildings. But her mother's love, her mother's spirit, that lived inside Emma. And it always would, no matter where she went. Emma sat up, wiping her eyes. Cooper tilted his head, his soulful eyes watching her carefully. "You'd come with us, right?" Emma asked him. "No matter where we go?" Cooper's tail wagged, and he licked her nose as if to say, "Of course. I go where you go." Emma took a deep breath. "Okay, boy, let's go talk to Dad." She found her father still sitting at the kitchen table, his head in his hands. When he heard her footsteps, he looked up, hope and fear mixing in his expression. "I'm sorry for yelling," Emma said softly. "I was scared." "I know, sweetheart. I'm scared too." Emma sat down beside him. "But maybe scared is okay. Maybe we can be scared together. And maybe, with Cooper, and with each other, we can do this." David's eyes filled with tears. "You mean it?" Emma nodded. "Mom's not in this house, Dad. You were right. She's in here." Emma placed her hand over her heart. "And here." She placed her other hand over her father's heart. "And we take her with us wherever we go." David pulled his daughter into a hug, and they cried together. Not tears of sadness, but tears of release. Tears of acceptance. Tears of a family learning to move forward without forgetting. And Cooper, sweet Cooper, put his paws up on both their legs and joined their little huddle, as if to say, "We're a family. And families stick together." The next 2 months were a whirlwind of packing, goodbyes, and new beginnings. Emma walked through her old neighborhood one last time, Cooper by her side. She visited her mother's favorite spots, the coffee shop on Main Street where she'd get her morning latte, the library where she'd spend her Saturday afternoons, the park bench where they'd sit and talk about everything and nothing. And at each place, Emma didn't cry. Instead, she smiled. She let herself remember the good times, the laughter, the love. She thanked her mother for every moment they'd shared, and she promised to carry those moments with her always. On the last day in their old house, Emma did something special. She went to her mother's garden, the one Sarah had lovingly tended every spring, and she collected seeds from her mother's favorite flowers. She'd plant them in their new home, she decided. A little piece of her mother, blooming in new soil. Moving day arrived on a bright Saturday in May. As the moving truck pulled away from the only home Emma had ever known, she expected to feel devastated. But instead, she felt something different. She felt ready. Cooper sat in the back seat beside her, his head resting on her lap, and Emma stroked his fur as they drove toward their new life. "We're going to be okay, Coop," she whispered. "All of us." The new house was smaller than their old one, but it had a big backyard, perfect for Cooper. Their new town was quieter, greener, and full of possibilities. On their first night in the new house, boxes still stacked everywhere, Emma and her father ordered pizza and sat on the living room floor with Cooper, who was busy investigating every corner of his new domain. "How are you feeling?" David asked his daughter. Emma thought for a moment. "I miss her," she said honestly. "I'll always miss her. But I'm okay, Dad. I really am." And she meant it. The grief was still there. It would always be there. But it had transformed into something she could carry. Something that didn't crush her, but instead reminded her of how deeply she'd been loved. The months that followed were filled with new adventures. Emma started at her new school, and while it was scary at first, she found that she'd grown braver. She made new friends, joined the art club, and even entered one of her drawings, a portrait of Cooper, into a school art show. She won second place. Cooper grew into his paws, becoming a strong, beautiful dog who was gentle with children and protective of Emma. He became somewhat of a celebrity in their new neighborhood, known for his friendly demeanor and his uncanny ability to sense when someone needed comfort. There was an elderly woman next door, Mrs. Chun, who had recently lost her husband. Emma would often find Cooper sitting at her fence, as if he knew she needed a friend. Eventually, Emma started bringing Cooper over to visit, and Mrs. Chun would smile, really smile, for the first time since her husband's death. Emma saw herself in Mrs. Chun, saw the grief, the loneliness, the struggle to keep going. And she saw how Cooper helped, how his simple presence, his unconditional love, could make the unbearable become bearable. "He's a special dog, your Cooper," Mrs. Chun said one day, scratching behind his ears. "He saved my life," Emma replied simply. "And now he's helping save yours." David's new job was everything he'd hoped for. Better hours meant more time with Emma. They'd cook dinner together, take Cooper for evening walks, and on weekends, they'd explore their new town. They found a new park, a new library, new favorite spots. They were building new memories while honoring the old ones. Emma planted her mother's flower seeds in the backyard, and when they bloomed that summer, she cried happy tears. Her father found her there, sitting among the flowers with Cooper, and he sat down beside her. "Your mom would be so proud of you," he said, "of the young woman you're becoming." "I hope so," Emma said. "I'm trying to live in a way that honors her. To be kind, to be brave, to find joy even in hard times. Cooper helps me do that." David smiled. "I think your mom sent him to us, you know. I think she knew we'd need him." Emma nodded. "I think so too." As the one-year anniversary of Sarah's death approached, Emma felt anxious. She didn't know how to mark the day. Should they be sad? Should they celebrate her life? Should they pretend it was just another day? But Cooper, in his infinite wisdom, showed her the way. On the morning of October 14th, Emma woke to find Cooper staring at her, his tail wagging slowly. He jumped off the bed and trotted to the door, looking back at her as if to say, "Come on, I have something to show you." Emma followed him downstairs and out to the backyard. The sun was just rising, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Her mother's flowers were in full bloom, swaying gently in the morning breeze. Cooper sat down among the flowers and looked up at Emma with those honey-colored eyes. And in that moment, Emma understood. This was how she should remember her mother. Not with sadness and tears, but with beauty and gratitude. Her mother had been like these flowers, vibrant, full of life, bringing color to the world. And even though she was gone, her beauty remained. Emma sat down beside Cooper, and together they watched the sunrise. "Thank you, Mom," Emma whispered to the sky. "Thank you for every moment. Thank you for loving me so completely. Thank you for teaching me what it means to be strong, to be kind, to be brave. And thank you for sending me Cooper when I needed him most." Cooper leaned against her, and Emma wrapped her arm around him. And thank you, Cooper, she said, kissing the top of his head. Thank you for saving me. Thank you for showing me that even when we lose someone we love, we don't lose the ability to love. Thank you for being exactly what I needed, exactly when I needed it. David found them there an hour later, daughter and dog sitting peacefully among the flowers. He took a picture, knowing it was a moment he'd want to remember forever. That evening, they did something Emma had suggested. They gathered all of Sarah's favorite things, her favorite songs, her favorite foods, her favorite movies, and they celebrated her. They told stories, laughed at memories, and yes, they cried a little too. But the tears weren't tears of despair. They were tears of love, of gratitude, of a family learning that grief and joy can exist side by side. Cooper, as if understanding the importance of the day, stayed close to Emma the entire time. And when the day was done, and Emma climbed into bed exhausted but at peace, Cooper curled up beside her just like he had every night for the past year. We made it, Coop, Emma whispered in the darkness. A whole year. And we're okay. Cooper's tail thumped softly against the bed. More than okay, Emma corrected herself. We're happy. We're healing. We're living. As Emma drifted off to sleep that night, Cooper's steady breathing beside her, she thought about everything that had happened. About the girl she'd been a year ago, broken, lost, drowning in grief. And about the girl she was now, still grieving. Yes, but also growing, healing, learning to live with loss instead of being consumed by it. Cooper had been the bridge, the connection between her broken past and her healing future. He'd given her a reason to get up in the morning, a reason to smile, a reason to keep going when everything in her wanted to give up. But more than that, Cooper had taught her the most important lesson of all, that love is stronger than loss, that the people we love never truly leave us, that grief is just love with nowhere to go. And if we can find a way to channel that love into something beautiful, into caring for others, into creating art, into simply being kind, then the person we lost lives on through us. 3 years later, Emma is 15 years old. She's thriving in school, particularly in art. Her drawings have been featured in local galleries, and she's even won a regional competition. She's made wonderful friends, found her place in her new town, and discovered that she's stronger than she ever imagined. Cooper is now a certified therapy dog. Twice a week, Emma takes him to the local hospital, the same hospital where her mother used to work, and they visit patients who need a reminder that they're not alone. Children undergoing treatment, elderly people far from their families, anyone who needs the kind of comfort only a dog like Cooper can provide. Emma watches Cooper work his magic, and she thinks about how one small puppy, abandoned and scared, has touched so many lives. How his capacity for love has helped heal not just her, but countless others. David is doing well too. The job move was the right decision. He's home for dinner every night, never misses Emma's art shows, and has even started dating again, something Sarah would have wanted for him. Emma likes his girlfriend, Maria. She makes her dad laugh, and she loves Cooper almost as much as Emma does. The hole that Sarah's death left in their lives is still there. It will always be there. But they've learned to live around it, to fill their lives with so much love and joy and purpose that the darkness doesn't consume them. One Saturday afternoon, Emma and Cooper are volunteering at Happy Tails Rescue, the same shelter where they found each other 3 years ago. Margaret, who still runs the place, watches Emma with a proud smile. You've grown up so much, she tells her. Your mother would be so proud. Emma smiles. I hope so. I'm trying to live the way she would have wanted. To find the light, even in dark places. To help others the way Cooper helped me. They walk through the kennels together, Cooper calmly greeting the other dogs. They stop in front of a kennel in the corner, the same one Cooper came from all those years ago. Inside is a tiny puppy, no more than 8 weeks old. A mixed breed with floppy ears and sad eyes. He was found abandoned, just like Cooper had been. The puppy sees them, and his tail starts wagging tentatively, hopefully. Emma kneels down. Hey, little guy, she says softly. I know you're scared. I know everything seems dark right now, but I promise you it gets better. Someone is going to come for you. Someone who needs you just as much as you need them. And you're going to save each other. As if understanding, the puppy presses his nose against the kennel door. Margaret puts a hand on Emma's shoulder. You know, there's a young boy coming this afternoon. He just lost his father in an accident. His mother thinks a dog might help him through it. Emma's eyes fill with tears, but she's smiling. Then this little guy is going to change his life, she says with certainty. Just like Cooper changed mine. That evening, as the sun sets over their neighborhood, Emma sits in the backyard with Cooper. He's not a puppy anymore. He's a full-grown dog, dignified and gentle. But when Emma looks at him, she still sees that tiny ball of fur who changed everything. You know what, Coop? She says, running her fingers through his golden fur. Mom was right. Everything she used to tell me was right. She'd say that the hard times make us appreciate the good times more. That love is the only thing that really matters. That we're stronger than we think we are. Cooper rests his head on her lap, and Emma feels the same warmth she felt that first day in the shelter. I wish she could see us now, Emma continues. I wish she could see the garden we planted, the art I'm creating, the lives we're helping with your therapy work. I wish she could see that we're okay, that we didn't just survive, we're actually living. The breeze picks up, rustling through her mother's flowers, and Emma swears she can feel her mother's presence. Not in a sad, longing way, but in a peaceful, comforting way. As if Sarah is saying, I see you, sweetheart. And I'm so proud. Emma pulls out her sketchbook, the same one her father bought her 3 years ago that she couldn't bear to open. Now it's filled with hundreds of drawings. She flips to a blank page and begins to sketch. She draws Cooper as she first saw him. Small, scared, hopeful. Then she draws him as he is now. Strong, confident, full of love. And between the two versions of Cooper, she draws a heart. Inside the heart, she writes, Love is the bridge between loss and healing. Thank you for showing me the way. She signs it, in memory of Sarah Mitchell, the best mom anyone could ask for. And to Cooper, the best friend anyone could hope for. As the stars begin to appear in the darkening sky, Emma closes her sketchbook and hugs Cooper close. I love you, boy, she whispers. Thank you for being my light in the darkness. Thank you for teaching me that it's okay to be sad, but it's also okay to be happy. Thank you for showing me that love never dies. It just transforms into something new. Cooper licks her face, his tail wagging gently. And there, in that backyard, surrounded by flowers that bloomed from seeds of the past, and a future full of possibility, a girl and her dog sit together. Proof that even in our darkest moments, love finds a way. Even when we think we've lost everything, sometimes the smallest creature with the biggest heart can teach us the most important lesson of all, that healing is possible, that joy can return, and that love, real, true, unconditional love, can save us. Because at the end of the day, we don't need grand gestures or perfect solutions. Sometimes all we need is a puppy with honey-colored eyes and a heart full of love to remind us that life, no matter how hard it gets, is still worth living. And that the people we love never truly leave us. They live on in the flowers we plant, the art we create, the kindness we show others, and in every beat of our healing hearts. This is the story of Cooper and Emma, a story of loss and love, of grief and growth, of a puppy who saved a girl and a girl who saved a puppy right back. And it's a reminder to all of us that even in our darkest hours, hope is waiting. Sometimes on 4 paws, with a wagging tail and a heart that understands what we need before we even know it ourselves. Thank you for listening to their story. May we all be lucky enough to find our own Cooper when we need one most. And may we all have the courage to keep living, keep loving, and keep believing that better days are ahead. Because they are. They always are.